Hey, welcome to FreightWaves NOW, Wednesday edition style. Welcome to tip of the freight cyclical cycle. I'm Chad Prevost.
You love Wednesdays. I'm Emily Zink. We got a lot going on. We're talking oil. We're talking autonomous trucks.
Is there a relationship, Emily?
I don't know. We'll find out shortly, but we got a lot of weather going on.
We do. We are going to find out. We're going to draw some connections. We've got 3 cooks in the kitchen. We have got John Kingston making a sighting here, market expert on oil. We've got Seth Holm showing us his homework. He's been doing a lot of research.
I like what you did there.
What about
home and homework?
Yeah, he is bringing it to us with some of his white paper research. It's going to be very exciting. And what is happening with weather?
Yeah, Nick Austin's going to tell us, Chief Meteorologist Nick Austin, a lot of severe weather. This is all we've been talking about, but it is the season.
For about 2 weeks, every day there's been severe weather threat. But speaking of oil, because that is a big topic for today, right near Tulsa, the Holly Frontier Company, they actually have a refinery near the Tulsa, Oklahoma area that last Thursday shut down because of flooding.
Oh, wow.
Not sure if it's back open yet. It was just going to be temporary until the flooding receded, but they're still having a lot of flooding problems along the Arkansas River. So it's possible that refinery is still closed. So that's affecting things in the market a bit.
It's affecting a lot. You did a great article right now on FreightWaves.com about the flooding and the railroads and delays and everything like that. And will we?
BNSF, Union Pacific, they both have rails, tracks, subdivisions that are flooded out over the last week or so because of the flooding along the Arkansas River, all the heavy storms and the severe weather out there. So, and there's more today. I mean, the radar is showing some more storms moving through parts of Oklahoma and down in North Texas, up in the Midwest. And that's going to continue through the rest of the day. There's still a risk tonight that there'll be severe storms. There could be tornadoes too popping up, possibly near Dallas and up towards Tulsa. Yes, again, unfortunately, up in the Northwest Arkansas, Fort Smith, Arkansas, and that area, which is also along the Arkansas River. Lots of just absolutely devastating flooding up there too. And the severe weather threat goes right up into St. Louis. And then there's another area of possibly severe weather for today up in the Northeast, from parts of Ohio over to Philly and Baltimore, up the I-95 corridor and some of those areas. Probably not tornadoes, but still could be large hail, a lot of wind up there. And certainly in any of these areas where there's potential for severe thunderstorms, there's always the possibility of flash flooding. And that could cause temporary roadblocks and other problems. So just a big mess almost every day now for the past 12 or 13 days. There have been severe weather outlooks for these same parts of the Plain States. There have been tornado reports from several states in that region almost every day for 2 weeks now.
Yeah, and we talked
they need
about,
a break.
Yeah, the flooding before we talked about, and you had said there could be some roadblocks, stuff like that. And sometimes people, they're in a hurry, they want to get to their place on time, they got stuff they need to deliver, but it is so imperative that you follow those signs. If it says road closed, do not go around that road, because we've been talking about this flooding for so long. You don't know how deep the water is.
You don't know how deep the water is. You don't know if that road could be washed out under the water as well. So whether you're driving a semi or whether you're driving just your car, you don't want to try and drive through floodwaters. Any kind of area where there is high water, even if there aren't any barricades or signs yet, just try and find another way, even if it takes an extra few minutes.
Yeah, definitely good advice there, and just
continue
to watch
More problems
stuff.
with rails, though. We'll go to St. Louis. I mean, this has been an ongoing problem here ever since that big storm first hit in mid-March, and then the Midwest has been hit with just off and on periods of torrential rain and severe storms, all up and down the Mississippi and Missouri rivers. There have been problems, but it's been pretty consistent here in the St. Louis area. The Port of St. Louis, Union Pacific, an intermodal station up here for BNSF. I mean, they're still under threats for possible flood damage, and these rails are being very, very closely monitored. They're being watched like a hawk by these rail companies.
Are they having to reroute a lot of stuff in this area? Okay.
Oh yeah, through the Midwest, and with the new flooding out in the plains, both of those companies, those are the 2 biggest freight railroad companies in the country, and they're both have been having to reroute loads, and so that's been causing delays of anywhere from 24 up to 72 hours in some cases. having to reroute a lot of those loads. So that's going to continue to be a problem for a while.
Yeah, if you're in that business, definitely something to think about. Yes. If you want something delivered on time, and you got to remember about the rerouting and all the flooding. Anything else we need to watch out for right now, or is it just severe weather and the flooding?
Just severe weather. Believe it or not, there's not much winter weather. There was snow yesterday in the Rockies, but that has come to an end. So, going over some of the mountain passes out in the Rockies, there may be some minor delays, but there's not really much more snow falling today. So there's really not much more winter weather to talk about, at least not for today.
That's good news. Yeah,
it may pop up again. You never know.
Talking about snow yesterday, pretty crazy, but yeah, definitely watch the severe weather, watch the flooding, hail, winds, everything like that, even tornadoes potentially. Again, Nick Austin, as always, has us covered on that. Now we're going to go to John Kingston and Chad. They're talking about oil in the markets right now.
Thanks for that, Emily and Nick. There is a lot of severe weather going on. I've heard today that there are 38 reported total deaths in the U.S. so far from tornadoes. And John Kingston, who flew in from New York this very morning, had to avoid some pretty severe thunderstorms. So glad you made it. How you doing?
You. Yes, I piloted the plane. I got right around him. It was an outstanding performance by myself. Yes.
You can talk about oil. You can fly jet airplanes.
That's right.
Very impressive. What do we have going on today?
So yesterday was a day late because of the holiday, but yesterday was the release of the weekly Department of Energy average retail diesel price.
Yes.
And of course that's very important in the trucking industry because it is the basis for most of the fuel surcharges. It went down a little bit. We'll see that graph in a minute, but this is a little more important. This is the wholesale rack price, the ultra low sulfur diesel wholesale rack price going back to May. And if we go over here, we can see that it took a pretty significant drop last week and then it moved up. So you would think with a big drop like this, you would think, well, the DOE weekly retail price should probably follow suit. And it did a little bit, as we'll see here for a minute. This is the DOE price is going to come up here. It's coming up here. And you can see, yeah, it declined a little bit. And I know it drives a lot of drivers crazy. They hear news reports about the price of oil falling and they're not seeing it at the pump. The earlier graph that we did, the rack price, the wholesale rack price, that is the last place that an oil company sets a price. They set the price for the rack, and the retailers buy at the rack to service their own stations, to fill their own stations. At that point, the oil companies are out of it. They will hold that price as high as they can for as long as they can. That's sort of natural economic behavior. It's not some grand conspiracy. It's simply the retailer will hang on to that price, that higher price, as long as they can. But the problem is their competitor down the street gets a lower load at the wholesale price. They lower their price to grab market share because they don't want to just sell gasoline. They also want to sell beef jerky at the convenience store. So all of that matters. So yes, the DOE price that just came down, it came down a little bit, even though the broader market numbers were down significantly, but that is normal behavior. As far as what the oil companies do, the wholesale rack price, that's the last place that they set a price. They have to react to the market. If the broader commodity market is down, they will lower that price. We could do a whole show on that, but we won't. But they will lower that price. The retailer, they're going to keep that number up as long as they can. You continue to have declines. We had a lot of declines overnight going into today Wednesday. You're going to see this number down again next week, I'm going to think. But the retailer is going to be the holdout.
Why do you think that we're going to continue to see it declining here as we're going into summer, which would traditionally, seasonality, it would be going up, right?
Well, I mean, it's a little early in the week. Maybe I shouldn't have made that declaration, but at this point, I think over the last 2 or 3 trading days, the broader equity market sell-off is in control here. And it's very rare to see oil stay up if you've got 100, 200, 300 point declines on the Dow. There tends to be a correlation there.
So good news for the consumers potentially, as the prices might be going a little bit down. That is what is happening with prices on diesel and oil happening right now. Thank you, Kingston. And now let's kick it over to Emily and Seth Home and talk about autonomous vehicles. What does Seth have in store, and what kind of connection can we make to oil?
As always, very insightful stuff there from John Kingston about the oil market right now. And the word autonomous, you've probably heard that a lot recently in the news. And we're talking today, Seth Holm and myself, our market expert, we're talking about in terms of trucking. Autonomous trucks. It seems like a very big thing when we're talking about trucks, and we're talking about driverless trucks. How soon will we see this?
Yeah, so thanks Emily. fully autonomous trucking. So the first distinction I would make is there's semi-autonomy and then there's full autonomy. Semi-autonomy is level 2, right? These are things you probably have in your own car. It's advanced driver assistance systems, stuff like lane keeping. If you fall asleep, right, it keeps you in the lane. You've got autonomous cruise control, autonomous braking, autonomous parking, stuff like that. And then you've got level 4 and 5 full autonomy. That's like stuff that Tesla's working on with their vehicles, right? What that means is no human driver. So in terms of what most people think of autonomous, like no human driver, level 4 and 5, I think that's at least 10, probably 20 or 30 years away.
Yeah, because it's a big deal not having someone behind the wheel of this truck. I love how you say evolution, not revolution. What do you mean by that?
Well, I actually got that from a CEO of an autonomous trucking company I talked to. He was kind of explaining, like, I think Tesla talked about at their autonomous day that they're going to have 1 million robo-taxis on the road in like 6 months or a year from now. And he was like, basically, that's not possible for a lot of reasons, because in order to be fully autonomous, you've got to accumulate tons of data, right, to prevent those accidents that you were talking about and stuff like that. So you can't just flip a switch or a light bulb and go from 2 million human long-haul truck drivers to no one in the cab overnight. It's literally not possible. So evolution, not revolution, means you go from semi-autonomy, some of these systems and advanced sensors and cameras and driver assistance features along the way to full autonomy, which no one really knows if we'll get there, but we probably will years from now. But along the way, we can still make truck driving safer and better for the drivers.
Yeah, if it's improving safety, that's good. But if I'm a driver, this kind of gets me a little nervous. Will my job potentially be replaced, say 10 to 15 years when you're talking about full autonomy?
Yeah, so on that I would say a couple of things. 10 to 15 years, that gives you a lot of time to find a new job and think about things, right? So yes, that's certainly possible. The major economic incentive for that to happen is that labor is 40% of a carrier's sales, right? They spend so much on labor. So there is that economic incentive there. But not only are you you have 10 or 15 years to worry about it, but in the meantime, all the semi-autonomy is actually going to make your life better, right? So it's going to be less of a grueling job. You're going to be less tired when you get home at night because you've got all these things helping you out. You don't have to be fully focused. So it's going to be an easier job. And not only that, long-haul trucking, that's where the shortage of drivers is most acute, and that's why kind of people are tackling this, in addition to the fact that it's straightaway routes on open highways. But when you have this big shortage, a lot of people don't want to do these jobs anyways because you're on the road for hundreds of days a year away from your family, which is tough. And so it's not an easy lifestyle. So long way off. I wouldn't worry about it anytime soon. And in the meantime, the semi-autonomy is just going to make things better.
Yeah, when you put it in terms like that, it's actually kind of exciting, like that. And you dove a lot deeper. This is just, touching the surface. You did a 20-page white pages on this. Where can people read this to get more information? Because we're just scratching the surface right now.
Yeah, so we did a deep dive. I talked to a lot of experts in the industry, read a lot of articles, everything I could find. And that is going to be, there's a 20-page paper coming out this week. We're going to put it out for Sonar subscribers, so be on the lookout for that. And stay tuned.
Yeah, this is very interesting, and we do have some articles right now. If you go to FreightWaves.com, you could find those articles there. Thank you, Seth, for giving us some insight, and obviously we'll continue to follow this story for months and years to come.
So you heard it right here. There is not a revolution, it's an evolution. There's no fully autonomous anything happening until at least 2050, if ever. No, just kidding. There's a lot happening, isn't there? We should go and check it out. This has been a really interesting 99th episode of FreightWaves Now.
I was wondering if you're going to mention that tomorrow. 100 episodes. You guys have been doing this for a long time, and I'm sure you've probably seen the evolution, not revolution, of the show.
Well, yeah.
Over time.
Now that you put it that way, it's been a little bit of both. Things are happening each and every day. That's why we're here for you at 4 o'clock Eastern time. But, it's like as you look back on it, boy, have we come a long way.
Yeah, and we're going to kind of do a little piece about that tomorrow to show where you started. If you just joined us maybe episode 50 and on, it's really changed. You guys started out small and it's gotten a lot bigger, so.
Look at the size of these screens.
Big, huge. I love it. Yeah, definitely follow us on social media, and as always, we got a lot of good stuff on FreightWaves.com.
So in the meantime, share the love on social media, and we will see you soon. Thanks for tuning in. Don't worry, be happy.